Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all keeping well. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I created this mint and gold acrylic design set. I'm working on my Glamerliz practice hand. As always, there is a 10% off discount code for Glamerliz in my description box below. So do check that out if you are looking to purchase a silicone hand. So straight on to the design. On the pointer finger, I'm coming in with Fantasy, which is from CJP. And originally I was going to do a cuticle cuff, glitter cuticle cuff, whatever it's called, on this nail. But I then decided I wanted to see a little bit more of the glitter because it's a chunky mix. So rather than doing the classic cuticle cuff, I've just sort of brought it down the nail a little bit further. Like I've brought the nude further down the nail. So I suppose it's a bit more like colour blocking, but I'm doing it in the exact same process I would do a cuticle cuff. So this bead here, I've placed that down and it's flowed pretty much into that shape I want it to go in. So I'm just using my brush to neaten it up and just making it as crisp as I can with my brush, but I will come in and file this anyway. And then I'm just coming in with a little bit more of that Fantasy just to build the height of the acrylic up. I just wanted it to have a little bit more thickness. Where the glitter is going to be a little bit more of the apex area, and then it's going to start tapering off roughly where the nude begins. But I just wanted there to be a little bit more height there so that when it does come to filing, I know that I've still got a good structure there and my apex and everything is okay. And then it was a little bit thin at the tip, so I just popped a bead of acrylic down at that tip area and blended it back into the previous acrylic just so that there's no marbling or shadowing. And then I'm just running my brush over the nail, making sure everything is as smooth and as even as possible. The smoother you lay your acrylic, the less filing you're going to have to do. And I personally hate filing, so I really try to get my acrylic application as smooth as possible. And then I'm going to leave this to set, so I will move on to the middle finger, which is going to be an ombre. So what happened here is I placed this bead of acrylic down just way too dry, and then I touched my wet brush onto it with some monomer to sort of just make it a little bit more workable, but I ended up adding too much monomer, so it was just a bit of a crap bead. So I just basically pulled it down to the free edge just to get it applied. And then I'm coming in with another bead of acrylic. I'm placing that down, tapping it out into place, and I'm just working medium to wet to build up the coverage here. I was originally going to put some glitter over this ombre, but then I felt like I've done that a lot recently, so I decided I would just keep it a classic ombre. So this is why I ended up, it looks as though I'm applying the colour quite thin, because if I was applying glitter, I'd keep the colours thin so we don't end up with a bulky nail. But then halfway through doing the ombre, I decided, you know what, actually, I don't want to add any glitter. So I decided to build the colour up a little bit more. But as you can see, I'm literally just building the entire free edge up with this beautiful mint colour. This is Apple Shine from CJP. And I've just made sure that the back end of that bead is blended out so that there's not a harsh line there. And then once I have finished faffing around with this nail, I will leave this colour to set because, as I've said previously, I always find it easier to do my ombres if I allow the first colour to set. So whilst that's setting, we're going to move on to the ring finger. And on the ring finger, I'm doing a French nail. So I'm coming in first of all with that same Fantasy to build up my extended nail bed. So I've just placed a smallish size bead down first of all, just so I can map out the rough shape that I want my smile line to be. So I'm just blending out the back of that bead, using the belly of my brush to pat and press that acrylic into place. And then I'm just using the sides of my brush to create the shape. Just getting a rough shape. I will file this crisp once it has all set, but I just like to get a rough shape with my brush so that, again, there's minimal filing to do. And then I'm going to come in with my cuticle and apex bead. So I'm making sure to tilt that finger down first of all, Then I'm placing down my bead of acrylic and just tapping it up towards that cuticle area. I just find this way I don't get any flooding of the cuticles. Obviously at the moment it doesn't matter too much because I'm working on my Glamerliz hand, but it's always good to have that same practice. And then I just pulled the top of that bead down over the previous bead of acrylic, and because I had worked with quite small beads today, I just felt as though the apex area wasn't built up enough. So I'm just coming in with another small bead of acrylic, tapping that into place and then blending it down, leaving the bulk of it in that back third just to make sure that apex is there, because I won't need to cap this nail bed. I'm just making sure that all that strength and structure has been built up with the Fantasy. Blending it all out so it's all nice and smooth, making sure the sides are as neat as possible, and then I will pop back and file that later on. Onto the little finger, and I'm going to be doing a full glitter nail, but I'm putting down a wash of that apple shine first of all because the glitter I'm using is quite a chunky mix. So I just find having a similar colour in the background really helps, because if there are any gaps in the mix, you know, because it's quite chunky, if there are any parts where you can see through the glitter, having that colour down there in the back just makes it look a whole lot neater. It also makes it a lot easier to get a nice neat cuticle area. And then this is the gorgeous glitter that I'm going to be using. I actually mixed this up myself. I think I used around 4 different glitters, but I had my eye on a couple of glitters that I see like this, and then I was going through my kit and I come across the mint green. It's like a matte mint green glitter. I think it's from the Glitter Fairy. And I thought, do you know what? I've got a couple of golds. Let me mix up my own mix. And I was really pleased with how it turned out. And this was what inspired me to do a mint green set. So yep, I'm just picking that chunky mix up with a small wet bead of crystal glass, and then I'm just applying it to the entire nail. Because it has got some finer pieces in there, but not many, I'm just taking my time to really nudge the chunkier pieces around into place, keeping my brush full of monomer so that not too much of the glitter sticks in my brush. And just as you can see, it makes it a lot easier to nudge it around if your brush is wet. And then once I'm happy with how all the glitter is placed, I will leave it to set before encapsulating, because I just find if I encapsulate straight after applying the glitter, it tends to pull and move the glitter around. So I do just leave that to set, and then we'll jump and do something else whilst I'm waiting. So I've jumped back to the pointer finger. Now I did file this crisp off camera, but all I simply did was whizzed my file around that acrylic, basically the same as when you're doing a French or any colour blocking. And then I'm just coming in with that chunky mix of glitter again and some clear acrylic, being really careful when I'm tapping it up into place around that cuticle area. If you was doing this set on yourself or a client, you do always need to make sure that you've got a clear base down behind that glitter, because the glitter won't adhere very well to the nail plate. So if I was doing this design on myself, I would have popped a thin clear base down first. Just cleaning up using my wet brush any of that glitter that goes onto the nail bed, and just making sure that I really get the finer pieces of glitter down into the smaller areas of the nail. And then again, this glitter will be capped in clear acrylic once it has set up in place. This nail was my favourite in the set. I just loved how the mint and gold went against Fantasy. I thought it was a really pretty combo. Now, I don't usually do my capping yet. I would usually leave encapsulating to the end, but I'm not quite sure why on this particular day that I did this set, I decided I would encapsulate the little finger now. So I'm just coming in and capping that with my CJP crystal glass, making sure that goes right around those side walls and that all the glitter is encapsulated. Just because if you do miss any parts, you will end up filing off the glitter and it will ruin the effect. Again, at that cuticle area, I'm making sure to be really careful that none of the product touches the skin or the cuticles, just dragging it down over that previous bead of acrylic, and then I will just come in with another bead to build up that apex area. So just place it down, tap it up towards the cuticle area and pull it down at the sides, and then pull the top of that bead down, and then again just smoothing out that acrylic, getting it as even as possible. I then off camera filed my Smile Line Crisp, and now it makes sense why I decided to encapsulate my glitter, because basically the glitter nails were done. So if I had filed this nail without encapsulating them, there's the chance that some of the dust from filing would have landed on top of the glitter. And then when it comes to encapsulating, you sometimes find that you've encapsulated some of that dust and it just looks a little bit dull. So usually if I am working with glitter and I'm going to be doing something like filing a French, I will encapsulate the glitter before doing that filing. So I hope that now makes sense. But anyway, I'm coming on to the French. I'm building up the tip, sorry, of the French. So I'm applying that CJP Apple Shine. I'm sort of applying this thicker down at the smile line and then blending it out because I'm going to be applying the glitter at the free edge. So I'm just making sure that the colour goes right down the wings of the nail, patting and pressing it into place. It doesn't matter if it overlaps the nude because I will file that excess away, but I'm just making sure that colour does go right down into the wings. And then I still want a wash of colour at the tip because it's, like I said before, it's a chunky mix, but it doesn't need to be a thick layer because that glitter will be going down there anyway. So that's why I'm just sort of fading that and pulling it out towards the free edge. And then I'm going to use a small bead of CJP crystal glass, dip it into my raw glitter mix, and then I'm just applying that right to the tip of the nail, using my brush to nudge those pieces around, and then I'll just gently fade them back just to create a slight glitter fade at that tip. Just tapping on some chunkier pieces of the glitter, and then I'm not adding any extra acrylic when I do that. I'm just using my wet brush because the acrylic I applied with the first bead of glitter will hold those other pieces in place. And then I will just leave that glitter to set in place before encapsulating later on. So I'm going to move back to my ombre. I'm picking up that Fantasy, placing it down at the blend area and just pulling it down over the colour. And to be honest, my ratio was massively off here. I was working way too wet and it just wasn't going to plan. I think we all have those off days. I really wanted to do this set of nails because, like I said, I'd played around mixing up that glitter mix and I really just wanted to get stuck in and do a set of nails. But I don't know, my application was just off on this particular day. But anyway, I'm just going to work with it. I placed another bead down at the cuticle area, tapped it up into place and got a nice neat cuticle area. And then I'm just pulling the colour down to help create that blend. And then I just come in with smaller beads of acrylic and just blend out the back of them and pull them down the nail until I am happy with the blend. I'm not 100% sure if I did come in with another little bit of apple shine as well to perfect it. But because I've built a lot of the nail up with the colours, the sort of overall thickness that the nail needs to be is there. But of course, because it's an ombre, the fade does need to be encapsulated to protect it from filing. So I do just cap this off camera, but I basically only put a thin cap layer down because I have already got a lot of the structure there with the nude and the mint, and they both are strength powders. So I simply just put a thin layer of clear down just to protect that blend from the filing. But I did do all of the encapsulation, or the rest of the encapsulation, off camera today. So this is what the finished design looked like. I then went off camera, capped them all in clear and filed them all into shape. As you can see, I was going for a tapered square today and I had already applied tapered square tips, and I'd applied my acrylic okay enough that I didn't need to do too much filing to them. But once I had finished filing them all, I decided I wanted to put some crystals on this nail. So I'm coming in first of all with a thin layer of jewellery gel, and I'm mainly sort of applying this down at that cuticle area and dragging it down towards the free edge, keeping it a nice thin layer because I'm just using flat back crystals. And then over the top of that, I'm going to apply a layer of my CJP tack free top gloss. So I've applied this over the wet jewellery gel. I've not cured anything yet. So whilst both those products are still wet, I'm going to come in and pop on my crystals. And it's just a simple crystal placement, nothing too fancy. I'm using some mixed size AB crystals from the Crystal Studio, and I'm also using a large opal crystal which is from the Crystal Studio as well. As always, all the products I use will be linked in the description box below, so do check that out if you're wondering where anything is from. So I'll just let you guys watch this bit and I will pop back in a mo. And then I am using tweezers to apply these crystals, and that's not what I would usually use. I would usually use the wax crystal picker up thingy-majig, you know what I'm on about. However, on the day I was doing this set, absolutely nothing went to plan and I couldn't find my crystal picker upper anywhere. So I did have to use tweezers, which made it a whole lot more tricky than what I'm used to doing. But once I had got there in the end and I was happy with how those crystals were applied, I popped my hand in the LED lamp to cure for 60 seconds, so all those crystals are now set in place. And we're then going to come in and top coat the remaining 3 nails. We don't need to top coat that crystal nail because we already applied the top coat when we applied our jewelry gel. So I'm just going to come in and use my CJP tack-free top gloss, give all of the nails a nice even layer of top coat, and I'll then pop them in to cure for 60 seconds as well. And that, guys, is the end of the video. I really liked this set. These are my kind of colours. Like I said, the application was a little bit off, but I still wanted to share the video with you guys. So I hope you all enjoy watching. If you did, then please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. And I shall hopefully see you all again soon in the next video. I really hope that you are all doing okay and everything's a little bit easier for everyone now. I know we're so far from normality, but hopefully things are all a little bit easier for you guys and hopefully you're all keeping safe and well. And here I have left a little clip of the finished result as well as a picture at the end. Again, thank you all so much for watching. It's really, really appreciated. Lots of love. Bye bye.